Welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Life podcast by Renters Insurance Solutions. I'm your host, Joshua Weatherington, with Eric Weatherington. Today, we are going to talk about customer experience and how important that is in any service industry. Now, Eric, what are your initial thoughts on customer experience?
Customer experience is critical whether you're selling hot dogs or selling hamburgers, selling chicken. You look at Chick-fil-A, look at what they focus on. Anything you're doing in property management, certainly customer experience is something that is critical for every property manager and everybody affiliated with a property management company to be focused on.
Now, when I was thinking about this topic and I was thinking about, what's a way of customer experience that is just beyond what you would think. I was thinking, you go to Disney World and you go to Magic Kingdom, and where you park versus where the park is, there's like a lake in front of it, and instead of here's our bus around the lake or whatever, you have the monorail, which was marketed as the railway of the future, and then it's all laid out in a way so when you go to the monorail station, get on the monorail, you're coming around the corner, and then you see Cinderella's castle, and you see the park, and it's like this whole it's practically like an event, the anticipation, your first day going to Disney, and all this build up and all things and it's just the little experience of just getting moved from the parking lot to the park that they do.
And that's what Walt Disney was all about, is the customer experience. And so, you park your car, you get onto a tram, the tram takes you to the entrance, you get checked in, you get your, you either go on the ferry or you go on the monorail, like you say, and you have this event. You're building up the anticipation, you're building up the excitement, and then all of a sudden, right, you exit, your transportation across the lake, and you turn the corner, and there in front of you is Magic Kingdom, is this magical place where you're going to spend the next the next day with your family and your friends, and just having a wonderful time riding rides and experiencing new things. And that's what we talk about when we talk about an experience. You talk about not just delivering a service, and you can go to a lot of places that will deliver a service, but people will go past 2 or 3 stores to go to a store that delivers an experience. People will go past 10 restaurants to go to a restaurant that delivers an experience. So that's what's really important, is to understand what experience is and understand what experience you're delivering as a company, and how your consumers are experiencing your brand. You hear that phrase, how are your customers experiencing your brand? And so there's just a lot of things to think about when you're setting up your service delivery, to really hone in on how folks are experiencing the products and the services that you offer and deliver.
And in today's day and age, that experience, I think, whittles down to a lot of ease of access. People don't want to have to drive to drive to the property manager's office, make a phone call, have to send an email. These are all things that are menial tasks that people just don't want to do. No one wants to talk on the phone. No one wants to have to drive 20 minutes out of their way. No one has to figure out what to say in an email.
Well, people your age, Josh, don't want to talk on the phone. That's very true. There are still some people that want to talk on the phone, but your point is, as the world around us and technology evolves and changes, that we have to continue to adapt, and we have to continue to look for ways to create better experiences for people at every level. And, we can't just be thinking about from the property management standpoint. We do, because, the iPhone, how much has this iPhone changed our world in the last 10, 12 years? And as people experience the iPhone, their their demands for service levels change, because now I can just sit here and, like you said, I can look at this. I can, pop up answers, questions, text, message, get on an app and do something. I can do all of those things right from here. And so people naturally want to be able to do more and more things like that. And if in property management, we're not continuing to adapt and adjust to the demands of our clients and our customers, then we're not going to be delivering meaningful, satisfying experiences.
Now, the real question here then is, how do you think in property management that you can enhance the experience that you're giving to your owners and your tenants?
Well, I mean, owners and tenants, two different experiences, two different expectations, two different things that need to be thought about. So let's just talk about owners for example. If you think about an owner, first of all, they want the whole onboarding process to be simple, right? They don't want to have to do a lot of work to get their property signed up with you as the property manager. And at the end of the day, they really don't want to have to do a lot of work. That's why they're hiring you as the property manager. So they want to hand you the keys, sign whatever paperwork you need them to sign, and then they just want to generally step away and let you handle the ins and outs and the details of running that property, running that investment for them. And then they want you to report on it. Tell me how my investment's doing. Tell me how my investment has done in the last 12 months compared to the previous year, or compared to the previous 5 years, or how is my investment doing compared to the stock market last year, or whatever it is. That's really all they want to do. They don't want to be that involved. The professional investor does not want to be involved in the toilets leaking, the faucets dripping, whatever those details on day in and day out basis that property managers are doing. They don't want that. And so that's what the owner is looking for. Now, if you look at it from the tenant's perspective, they want to have an easy application process. They want it to be simple to go and look at the property. And that's where self-showing technology comes into play. They want to be able to see the property without talking to anybody and doing it in their way and their time. And then, they want that application process to be quick and easy. Once they apply and they submit all their documents, they want an answer right away. And they want to be able to move in and not have to drive across town to go to your office to pick up keys or sign paperwork or those types of things. And then for the most part, they just want to be left alone, and they want their maintenance requests to be answered and responded to in a timely manner. And if they have a problem, they want it to be resolved. And if you do those things for your residents, then your residents are going to be much more likely to stay in the rental property and pay their rent on time.
Now, those things are all great, but here's the real question. How do you implement that into your business if you aren't doing that already?
So how do you implement that into your business? It starts with having a strategy. I mean, it starts with sitting down with your team or sitting down as the owner of the company and saying, what do I want my tenant to experience when they come to my property management company? What do I want my owner to feel when they engage with my property management company? What do I want my tenant to feel when they talk to my team, or when they move into a property, or when they move out from a property, or whatever those things are? And then you start to write that down, and you really have to build that experience, just like Walt Disney built the monorail, and he built the pond, and he built the ferry, and he built that all of those things to create the experience that he wanted to create. You have to do that as a property manager too, as a property management company owner. And so once you've got that experience in your mind and got it down on paper, then it's about figuring out how technology plays a part, how your team plays a part, and bringing all of those pieces and parts together, training, educating, and then putting it into practice, and then asking questions. How are we doing? Are we delivering the experience that we want to deliver? And get that feedback from your owners and your tenants. Adjust your systems and your processes or your technologies as appropriate. Adjust your training for your team as appropriate, and keep just keep doing that process. It's a continual process. It's a continual loop of, develop, implement, solicit feedback, revise, train, implement again, and keep going.
No, you go back to our example of Disney World. It's like when you're driving onto Disney property, there's a sign that says "Welcome to Disney World, the happiest place on earth." It's like they're already setting the expectation in the customer's mind that says your experience here is going to be great. So how can we do that with the property management company? And as a new owner, a new tenant is looking at your company, how can you already set in their mind that your experience with us is going to be, a great experience?
Well, you put it out there. I mean, just like Disney. I mean, it doesn't say, we hope you have a great time. It doesn't say, we think this is the greatest place on earth. They lead with an affirming statement or an affirmative statement that says, we are the greatest place on earth. And then everything that they do throughout the day while you're there on property is an attempt to live up to that experience. So they set the bar. Greatest place on earth. And then all that they do, from the way that the park is set up to the way that the food is delivered, to the way that the trash is removed from the park, to everything that they do is under the guise of, we want to be the greatest place on earth. And so it's the same thing for the property manager and the property management company owner. I want to have a property management company that is not just better than the next guy. Disney doesn't say, welcome to Disney World, we're better than SeaWorld. Welcome to Disney World, we're better than Universal. They don't say that. They say, we are the greatest place on earth. And so as the property manager and the property management company owner, I have to ask myself, what is that standard for me? What is the standard that I'm going to set? What's the bar that I'm going to establish that I want to make sure that all my experiences are delivered in an effort to keep up with that bar?
So in review, it's we have to find out what experience we want to be making for our customer. Then we go about finding out how we implement that, finding the different technologies and different services that I might need to be using in order to create that expectation for the customer. Then it's training the staff, teaching the staff, this is what we do, this is what we want the people to feel like, this is the experience we're making, and then implementing that. And then we're getting customer feedback saying, okay, this worked, this didn't work, and we're going to go back and change this. And then after that point, after your initial finding out and starting, it's just an initial loop of constantly revising, tweaking, and making better your ideals.
That's exactly right. And if you look at Chick-fil-A, you look at Disney, you look at Nordstrom's, you look at the Ritz-Carlton, all of these places are known for the experience that they deliver. Okay, Chick-fil-A sells chicken sandwiches, but people flock to Chick-fil-A because of how they feel, how they are made to feel when they visit Chick-fil-A and interact with their team. And that doesn't happen by chance. That happens because all of these companies focus on hiring the right people, putting them in the right seats on the bus, and providing them the tools and the training that they need to do their job. And training is such a critical part of that process. So you've got to train your people what you expect them to deliver, the level of service that you expect them to deliver, and what the standards are, and how they are an integral part of the overall success of the company. Whether that's the person who's taking out the trash every day, or that's the person who is rubbing elbows with tenants and owners every day, or the person who is handling maintenance requests, or whatever it is, every single job in the property management company is critical, and every person in that job needs to be focused on delivering exceptional service to the client.
And that's the thing with Walt Disney World, continually year for year raising prices because people are willing to spend thousands of dollars to go on a trip with their family, to go I mean, in essence, go wait in a line for hours to go ride rides. You think about the amount of time people spend at Disney World in a line, and they're spending $1,000 a day to go stand in a line for 4 hours.
Yeah, and again, if you look at the queue at Disney World at any of the number of the most popular rides there, and then you compare the queue experience at other maybe less expensive parks. What do they do while you're in line? They create an experience, right?
Yep.
They've got it laid out, and they're starting to bring you into the story for that ride. They're hitting you all of your senses. They're hitting you with visual things. They're hitting you with auditory things that you can hear and see and touch and feel as you're moving through that queue, so that you're being brought into the experience that they are trying to create, so that once you get to that ride, then you're ready to go. So it's and it's amazing when you think about people, like you said, people will spend a lot of money to go stand in line for 3 hours for a 3-minute ride. But
I mean,
that's
every time there's a brand new ride opening at Disney, you can't ride it for the first 5 years because the wait's 4 hours long. Because
exactly.
people are willing to spend hundreds of dollars to go stand in a line for the whole day to ride one ride.
Yep. It's amazing. But that's that is because over a course of 50 plus years at Walt Disney World, they have focused entirely on creating experiences for people. And they have set the bar, happiest place on earth. And they have poured billions of dollars and an unbelievable amount of effort and energy into living up to that bar, happiest place on earth. And so, you think of a property management company, best place to rent a single family home in fill in the blank, fill in the town. Maybe that's the bar. Best place to rent in the country. Maybe that's the bar. And then everything else has to live up to that standard. But too often, as business owners, we set the standard of, well, look, there's 3 restaurants in town, and I'm going to be just better than the other 3. And so we allow our competition to determine what the bar is. And when we do that, we're no better than the next guy, And then, it's just people aren't going to flock to that because, hey, yeah, I went there last week and, it was okay, but it was just wasn't a whole lot different than the place I went to the week before. So I'll just keep doing my round robin and visit each restaurant, every couple weeks and call it good. As opposed to someone who says, okay, here's my 3 competitors in town. And I understand them. I understand the level of service they're providing. I'm not going to be measured by them. I'm going to set an entirely new standard of excellence in the service that a customer experiences when they come into my restaurant. And then all of a sudden people are saying, well, why would I go here when I can go here and just experience something totally different, totally unique? And I mean, you look at, again, I look at Chick-fil-A. Look at what Chick-fil-A has done with just a chicken sandwich. And you can go to a lot of fast food restaurants and you can buy a hamburger, or you can buy a deli sandwich, or you can buy a salad, or you can buy this, or you can buy that, or you can buy all these other things. And Chick-fil-A, for the most part, has boiled it down to, we're just going to do these few things. We're going to stay focused in our lane on chicken sandwiches, but we're going to provide an experience for people that come into our restaurant that is very different than all the other fast food chains out there. And that's why Chick-fil-A is so successful.
And you have to think in property management, your experience not only is limited to your tenants or your owners, or especially your tenants' interactions with your clients. As the tenant, your experience with the property management company is every minute you spend inside of that home that you're renting.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And so, so it really, as if I'm trying to set a level of experience that is above par, it starts with what kind of properties do I accept into my management portfolio? And am I accepting quality properties that can live up to, you know, the standard that I've set? Because if I accept a lot lower properties, then there's going to be more problems. And right, that person is every day walking around saying, "This is what XYZ Property Management Company stands for." When I see the hole in the floor, the hole in the drywall, I see the door, swinging, rickety rackety from its hinges, or whatever the case might be.
And I mean, going back to Disney, it's the happiest place on earth. Everyone in their home, they want their home to be the happiest place on earth. We all want to love our homes and enjoy our homes. And so if you aren't providing that ability to your tenant, obviously there are things out of your control in that respect, but you want their home to be their happiest place on earth. You want that to be, you want your tenant to enjoy using the property. You don't want a tenant that's like, yeah, I rent this house because it's a roof and four walls and I can sleep there, but the place is horrible. The walls are falling down. There's holes everywhere. The ceiling leaks every time it rains. My shower works half the time. Sometimes you don't have hot water. The stove works if you kick it right here in this corner.
Right.
You just don't want that.
No, you absolutely don't. And you've got to avoid that at all costs, and understand that, look, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be things that need fixed or issues that come up and arise. And it's not that I'm trying to provide a perfect experience for my resident, but what I'm trying to provide is a great experience that includes immediately responding to requests for maintenance when there's a problem, giving great follow-up and great feedback all throughout the process, and then making sure that when I think the job is done, that the tenant is satisfied that the job is done.
All right. And wrapping this conversation up, Eric, I want you to give me the three things that a property management owner or operator can do today to raise their customer experience.
3 things that they can do today to raise their customer experience. Number 1, be relentless about asking your customers how you're doing. So be relentless. You've got to constantly ask your customers how you're doing. That's number 1. Number 2, talk to your team members, because in a lot of cases, your team members know what is going well in your operation and what's not going so well. They can give you a lot of insight and a lot of feedback into areas that need to be improved for your operation. And then number 3, I say, get away from the business, get away from your home, go spend a weekend in a hotel room somewhere, go spend the money, go stay at a Ritz-Carlton, go spend a weekend away somewhere and go to the best restaurant you can find in a particular city, and experience for yourself what it's like to be treated at a level of service that doesn't just compare with the other places that people can go. People can go rent a hotel room, the Red Roof Inn says they'll leave the light on for you. Okay. But your experience at the Red Roof Inn is going to be very different than the Ritz-Carlton. Go experience the Ritz-Carlton and see what makes them different. And then as you're sitting there away from your business, away from the day-to-day grind of life and everything else, start to ask yourself the question, what do I want my owners and what do I want my tenants to say about the experience that they have when they interact with my company, when they interact with my team? So if you do those 3 things, I think you will end up with a good roadmap to help you get your customer experience elevated to a much higher level, elevated above the industry, and an experience that will ultimately produce more satisfied clients. And, the size of your paycheck is a direct proportion to the size of the amount of people you serve. And there you go.